Welcome to a live recording of my article, Why Your Zone of Genius is Your Highest Leverage, and why it's the fastest path to your next 10x. What is the difference between using your zone of genius versus not? Here is what using your zone of genius for high leverage looks like. My executive coaching client, JB, not his real initials, is a CEO founder of an AI startup. He had such a pivotal breakthrough after we started deep diving into his zone of genius that he wrote a new white paper. JB had so much immediate clarity and conviction that he quickly made the difficult decisions to stop his product launch, reorganize his team, and pivot his company based on his breakthrough insights to steer differently towards his ambitious vision and mission in AI. Through his white paper, he invented a new economic model and novel technical architecture for how value is generated and exchanged in the AI market, which led to a groundbreaking new patent and new business. From strategically leveraging his zone of genius, he and I were both mind blown. Don't climb the ladder of success only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. This is a quote often attributed to Stephen R. Covey. This was exactly my client, JB. His breakthrough made him realize the ladder was on the wrong wall. His zone of genius got him on the right wall. This is the power of using your zone of genius for your highest leverage in life. 5 non-obvious insights on why your zone of genius is your highest leverage and fastest path to your next 10x. 1. What is your zone of genius? 2. Why going from 2x mindset to 10x identity means being a different person. 3. The faster you embrace your 10x identity, the faster you get to 10x. 4. The biggest obstacle. Identity shifts are hard. The good news is this is fully within our control. 5. Your zone of genius is the fastest path to your 10x identity and thus to your next 10x. You will want to strategically leverage your zone of genius differently in every 10x. 1. What is your zone of genius? First, you might be wondering, what the heck do you mean by zone of genius, Christina? People often intuitively understand it's about your natural talents and strengths, and I've created my own unique approach. My personal definition of zone of genius is your zone of genius is the synthesis of your top strengths and how you uniquely apply it in the world. To be specific on my particular focus as an executive coach, I specialize in helping AI CEO founders and executives in high stakes journeys strategically apply and amplify your zone of genius to unlock your next 10x leap. My innovation is helping people apply their zone of genius in real life. It's not just a theoretical concept from a book. Here are traits of your zone of genius. This is my personal point of view. 1, it's your very highest natural gifts and talents. You're good at it, it lights you up, it's easy for you, you love it, you enjoy it, it's always energizing, you're in the flow, time passes quickly, you're better at it than most other people, and your unique synthesis of your top 5 strengths is what makes you stand out from everyone else on this planet. The concept and phrase zone of genius comes from the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I love Gay Hendricks' insight that many of us get stuck in our zone of excellence versus truly tapping into our zone of genius. We get stuck on suboptimal paths doing many things we're good at, zone of excellence, but not our highest natural gifts, zone of genius. You get stuck at your local maxima instead of on a path to your global maxima. What I found missing from the book was how to apply zone of genius in real life. I wanted this for myself, and it turns out it's in my zone of genius to help people optimally apply their zone of genius in real life for their highest leverage. My top Clifton strength is maximizer, meaning my zone of genius is maximizing other people's zone of genius. This is my top natural gift. It drives my purpose in life, and it's the highest impact gift I can offer the world. Hence, I created and continuously innovate on my unique, customized methodology that combines using the Clifton Strengths Assessment with the Zone of Genius concept from The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks to help AICO founders and executives apply it to real life for their highest leverage. Like my executive coaching client, JB, in the opening story. The key takeaway and non obvious insight is your zone of genius can be your highest leverage if you apply it in real life. Two, why going from 2x mindset to 10x identity means being a different person. The premise of this whole article is about how to be highest leverage for yourself with your zone of genius. It starts with our goals. Here's a spicy reframing. Going for 10x goals is easier than 2x. I'll say that again. Going for 10x goals is easier than 2x. 2x mindset is linear, incremental, and repeating your past. 10x identity shifts are exponential, significantly different from your past, and working back from your audacious future vision. You could brute force your way to 2x. You can't brute force do more of your current activities to get to 10x. The beauty is using 10x goals, seemingly impossible goals, as a tool forces you to find a path that is higher leverage, not found by brute force. Impossible goals force you to figure out a completely different path to those 10x goals than the path you're on today shooting for 2x goals, because the path you're on now and the way you're operating today won't get you to 10x. Myron Golden and Dr. Benjamin Hardy go deep on this topic in this excellent mind-provoking podcast episode. I linked to it in my article. Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan wrote an entire book on this topic called 10x is easier than 2x. The most non-obvious insight, 10x forces you to change who you are being. As Myron Golden says, impossible goals force you to abandon the person you've been being and become the person you have to be in order for you to achieve your next 10x. 2x identity is more of the same from your past and defaults to brute force. 10x identity is more transformational and is forced to be higher leverage. My client JB's 2x identity was as a previous tech executive and a former CEO founder of a successful non-AI business. JB's 10x identity shift is being the AI visionary and CEO founder he was meant to be in his limitless zone of genius and ambitious mission for humanity and AI. Pioneering through multi-year invention cycles where there are no existing models or playbooks. The key takeaway and what many don't see on the outside is going from 2x mindset to 10x identity means being a different person. 3, the faster you embrace your 10x identity, the faster you get to 10x. The times when you're going to have the most identity conflict is when you're in a high stakes transition. As I just mentioned, my executive coaching client JB was in his own high stakes transition from executive to AI CEO founder. Identity shift from executor operator to inventor originator. Going from 2x mindset to 10x identity is inherently going to be a high stakes transition because it seems so wildly crazy and impossible to you at first. Your identity shift can be your biggest blocker or your biggest accelerator. The book 10x is easier than 2x calls out a key quality of the world's top achievers and continuously evolving to your next 10x. The ability to rapidly accept a new identity. The non-obvious insight and key takeaway is the faster you embrace your 10x identity, the faster you get to your next 10x. 4, the biggest obstacle. Identity shifts are hard. The good news is this is fully within our control. As one of my executive coaching clients said, this is hard work. That's the honest truth. Changing how you see yourself, changing how you talk about yourself, changing how you present yourself to the world. Your identity is the narrative you have for yourself. Why are identity transitions so hard? Because we have to go outside the comfort zone to take these nonlinear leaps in the narrative we have about ourselves. You are taking nonlinear leaps in qualitatively being a different person. My clients often tell me it's uncomfortable, but the good kind of uncomfortable, outside the comfort zone. When we shed our 2X identity, we have to stop doing a lot of old things, start doing a lot of new things, and do more of your zone of genius in different, higher leverage ways. These identity transitions often involve different mindset, different habits, different 10X folks we want to surround ourselves with, different people on our personal board of advisors to get us to that next 10X, and a different narrative you have for yourself. Another obstacle is that identity transitions can often trigger imposter syndrome or confidence downs. When your external reality is incongruent with your internal identity integration. The identity transition piece might not even fully make sense until you're through to the other side. Another client described it as, I'm wrestling with this notion of a new identity, which I don't completely agree with, but I'm processing it. Other executive coaching clients tell me that our reframings to the new identity don't feel real. That's right. We want it to be outside our comfort zone because that means you are expanding to your next 10X identity. Cringy is a good sign. If it felt 100% real today, we wouldn't need to be working together. You'd already be living that 10X identity and those audacious goals, and you don't need my help. The most non-obvious insight is the biggest obstacle is identity shifts are hard. The good news is this is fully within our control. 5, your zone of genius is the fastest path to your 10X identity and thus to your 10X. The reason why I say good news is because your zone of genius is fully within your control. And your zone of genius is the shortest path to your identity shift. I found this to be a missing gap in the 10X is easier than 2X mental model. Luckily, I fill in this gap with my specialty, and this is why I know it's fully within our control. This is exactly what I do with my executive coaching clients. My client JV marveled that his identity shift was, in a very short time, dramatically different. I'm a much, much different person, he said. This comes from our intentional work together in executive coaching to strategically leverage his zone of genius differently in his 10X identity and next 10X inflection point as a CEO founder inventing in new AI frontiers. For another client who transitioned from executive, which was his 2X identity, to CEO founder of AI-driven businesses rooted in his zone of genius, which was his new 10X identity, we had the revelation that he has traveled more mindset and psychological emotional distance in our work together than possibly in the previous 20 plus years of his career. This is why I say your zone of genius is the shortest path to your identity shift. I like to think of it through this framework. Your zone of genius is first principles thinking for every 10X evolution. This is how I would explain it. Thank you, ChatGPT, for the words I wanted to express. First principles thinking means breaking a problem down to its core truths. The fundamental building blocks you know are true, and rebuilding from there to find new solutions. Instead of copying how others do things or relying on assumptions or being constricted by limiting beliefs, you ask, what's really at the root of this? From that solid foundation, more innovative and aligned possibilities emerge. Your zone of genius is at the root of this. You simply come back to the fundamental building blocks of you in every 10X identity shift. This is how we reinvent ourselves to qualitatively become the person you need to be to find higher leverage paths to your next 10X. Your zone of genius is your force multiplier. The second part of this mental model that is important to understand in being highest leverage with yourself, jumping to your 10X identity isn't a one-time thing. The book 10X is easier than 2X talks about a similar notion to zone of genius, but they call it unique ability. To combine their mental model with my framework, your zone of genius is always evolving and directed at your most exciting future. Each 10x jump will be different, and the expression and focus of your zone of genius will also be different in each 10x jump. Each 10x jump you make will non-linearly and qualitatively transform you as a person. Your zone of genius is limitless, and every 10x jump further expands your capacity for your highest leverage and greatest impact in ways that come naturally to you versus feeling forced or draining. As Myron Golden and Dr. Benjamin Hardy said in their podcast, going for the faster goal will require a lot more leverage to get you there. The final non-obvious insight and main point of this article, your zone of genius is the fastest path to your identity shift and thus to your 10x. You will want to strategically leverage your zone of genius differently in every 10x. To recap the key takeaways, 1, your zone of genius is your highest leverage if you apply it in real life. 2, going from 2x mindset to 10x identity means being a different person. 3, the faster you embrace your 10x identity, the faster you get to 10x. 4, the biggest obstacle is identity shifts are hard. The good news is this is fully within our control. And 5, your zone of genius is the fastest path to your 10x identity and thus fastest path to your 10x. You will want to strategically leverage your zone of genius differently in every 10x. I will tie this up with one last important point to complete the bigger picture. The biggest gap I found missing from books like The Big Leap and 10x is easier than 2x is on how to actually apply your zone of genius in real life, my specialty. To me, this is the most important gap in helping people jump to their 10x. 10x is easier than 2x says that your unique ability, your zone of genius, can only be uncovered and developed by embracing what you most want and being more honest and real with yourself. This is super vague and not concrete at all. I know from my deep work with my executive coaching clients on their zone of genius that this is very hard for people to do on their own. I find this a huge gap and opportunity in the market in general. People like Oprah and Steven Spielberg give similar good-intentioned, vague advice. Oprah says, your real work is to figure out where your power base is and to work on that alignment of your personality, your gifts you have to give, with the real reason why you are here. Align your personality with your purpose and no one can touch you. Steven Spielberg says, listen to the whisper of your dreams to find what you are meant to do in life. Okay, Oprah and Steven Spielberg, but how? It's not easy to figure out your power base or listen to the whisper of your dreams. That's not concrete, actionable advice. This is why I use my own zone of genius to help people maximize their zone of genius. It's my calling in life. I didn't know this was a calling until I began strategically leveraging my zone of genius with clients and in my own 10x journeys. Like my clients, I'm continuously evolving through 10x identity shifts, going higher leverage with my gifts and innovating in my own unique ways for the most transformational positive impact possible. So how about you? What limitless possibilities could there be for you when you strategically use your zone of genius to be higher leverage and get to your next 10x faster? Thank you so much for listening to the live recording of my article. My name is Christina Pan. I'm an executive coach and former product leader with 20 plus years of experience at Silicon Valley startups and high growth tech companies. I started my career on Wall Street, MIT Sloan MBA. I'm an avid pickleball player and a zone of genius maximizer. I specialize in helping AI CEO founders and executives in high stakes journeys strategically apply and amplify your zone of genius to unlock your next 10x leap. If this is you and you're exploring private executive coaching and a strategic thought partner and sounding board at this level, book a call or reach out to me on LinkedIn and we'll assess mutual fit. Find all my content on LinkedIn or Instagram, and you can also subscribe to my weekly newsletter on LinkedIn as well. My zone of genius is maximizing your zone of genius, sending you all the best energy and your highest leverage with your zone of genius. Thank you.